Okay, let's start with, and actually if you look at right here,
Okay.
let's talk a little bit about how you implemented your blocks in your facility, and maybe a little history on how it started and
Sure.
how you guys have taken it.
Sure. So ultrasound for me started back when I was a resident in Seattle, in which we were exposed to a lot of different machines from all the various manufacturers. And it was at that time when I was scanning on myself and on patients, I started to see all the structures you could see that were very difficult, obviously, to see with blind technique or just based on landmarks. So I've carried that through my entire residency in anesthesiology into my fellowship in pain management to my current practice, where we heavily rely on fluoroscopy or landmark techniques. Now I can use ultrasound anytime I want. I can always pull the machine in, start scanning patients, and start to take a look at their anatomy and understand what sort of targets we can intervene on. So for me, it's been a huge help. It's convenient, it's safe, there's no radiation exposure, and it's fast. I can do the blocks very quickly.
Could you say a little bit more about patient safety, the various aspects of patient safety while using your blocks, including opioid reduction?
Absolutely. So using ultrasound in my practice has been extremely helpful as far as doing interventions without radiation exposure, but doing these blocks, when they're effective, can certainly reduce the dependence on opioid medications for my patients. That's one of my ultimate goals when I see my patients, is to either get them off of their opioids or at least reduce the doses they're on. Some of these blocks can do a huge amount of relief for some of the pain and suffering that individuals are going through, and what I've seen in my own work is that I'm able to get people off when historically they've been on huge doses.
How has it been learning to use ultrasound guidance, and how has Sonosite helped you in that?
Yep. So learning about ultrasound it really depends on how much you want to start scanning yourself, I think. So really taking the time to scan and for hours. And I used to do that, and I encourage everyone who gets their hands on an ultrasound to do the same thing. You start to learn more and more the more you visualize and seeing what happens to tissue when you start to put needles in and when you start to put neurostimulating leads in. So over time, I've developed a whole library of how to look at certain blocks and interventions. Sonosite's been really helpful because every step along the way, whether I was a resident or fellow or an attending in practice, there are videos online. I learned from some of the experts in the field, and the technology has improved compared to when I was using it 10 years ago to what we see today.
Where do you think this is going in the adoption in general?
For all of anesthesiology or for chronic pain specifically? Yeah. So certainly ultrasound is going to be used more and more in the chronic pain world. I think the only reason I'm using quite a bit of it is because I was just in that generation where ultrasound was available, it was around, and I've just continued to use it for different applications. More and more people, whether they're trained before me or after me, see its benefit. As I mentioned, the reduction in radiation and opioid use. And so I think it's going to grow quite a bit, and not just a small amount, a great amount. There are a few procedures where ultrasound is superior to any of the other techniques.
How about patients and the fact that their pain is managed and patient satisfaction?
Yeah.
Some know the difference, right?
Absolutely. I think the best thing about ultrasound is how convenient it is. It has a small footprint in the corner of your office. Even when you're just talking to a patient for a visit, I can say, hold on 1 second, let me go grab this machine and start scanning. They like to watch with you. It's super fast to do it. And then if you choose to do an intervention, you can do it there right on the spot in the office or in an ASC or in the hospital. Really, it's so portable and easy. You don't have to depend on a large C-arm or some other major machine to get the job done.
Jody, so the final question for the
final question is just any kind of comment you want to share with our internal team.
Yeah, absolutely. So ultrasound has been a huge gift to me and everything I do. Like I said, I used it in anesthesiology for airway, for regional anesthesia, for cardiac. But as I've moved away from anesthesia, as far as being in the OR and into chronic pain management, it is definitely a large part of my practice, my everyday work life. The number of patients that get touched by ultrasound are significant. It may seem like the chronic pain world is all fluoro or even CT or MR or landmark, but it's a growing market. I think it's one that you guys should really jump into both feet first, because you're going to see it take off, particularly with the younger generation of individuals being trained. Ultrasound is being used more in pain fellowships, and people are going to be demanding having this in their office and in their ASCs to do interventional pain procedures.
So just lastly to say, can you say, like, thank you to the internals on the team?
Yeah, absolutely.
The engineers in the trenches.
Yeah. Yes, I would like to thank the entire Sonosite team, the engineers, the sales reps, everybody involved in the product development and marketing of these great machines. It plays a huge role in everything I do. It makes me look better. And I've been using you guys for 11 years now, and I appreciate every moment with them. So thank you.
Thank you. And I promise we won't use that anywhere but with our team.
Okay, cool.
You're not